can't go wrong, though, I don't think, with Caleb Williams or Drake May. And that's where Caleb Williams comes into this picture because Caleb Williams is this unbelievable athlete. His ability, the way he can flick his wrist and just throw an absolute dart from virtually any position, like his arm position, body position, is incredible. The concern, though, is certainly going to be that thing about, it turned, and we talked about this in the college show a lot. It's just backyard football at USC and with Lincoln Riley. And it's hard to gauge how much of that is Caleb Williams versus how much of that is just Lincoln Riley, because there is a lot of evidence that suggests that like that organization as a whole, operation as a whole, is undisciplined and somewhat unserious. Like it feels like a lot of their practice time is designated to kind of practicing, hey, things outside of structure, outside of timing, sort of chaos in creating that. And it's been super, you know, super effective. You look at the numbers that Lincoln Riley's offenses have put up, they're pretty crazy, but it rears its ugly head on a lot of like when you watch that USC team last year, when you watch Caleb Williams, so much of it was out of structure. There was like no real timing. The route concepts were an absolute disaster. Like we never really saw Caleb Williams get to play a regular game. And that is somewhat concerning because when it becomes so ingrained in you that like you've always got to be making a play, you've always got to be running around, you're not really playing in structure, that can be a little bit of a hard adjustment to make in the NFL. And I'm not saying he can't do it because he's a super smart guy. Like everybody seems to like him. But we've seen that like the types of plays he was making in college are certainly transferable to a degree because you see guys like Patrick Mahomes where this comp comes in a lot of being able to make these insane, crazy, when everything's breaking down, turn this into a backyard football game. But you've got to be willing to play more within structure. And we saw that really kind of bite them in the butt when they played a really good defense like Notre Dame. Like that Notre Dame game showed up for him. And that was a rough, like by the end, he sort of started to figure it out, but that was a really rough game because you had a defense that was tough and physical and disciplined, and didn't get really out of their assignments a whole lot. Like that was a really phenomenal Notre Dame defense. And you saw, what USC was trying to do just doesn't work anymore. And we've seen that in the NFL level. Like Patrick Mahomes early in his career, I always think back to my Bucks versus Chiefs in the Super Bowl. And Todd Bowles brilliantly figuring out that Patrick Mahomes at that point in his development was much more comfortable bailing out and trying to create something on the fly than maneuvering within the pocket and trying to play still within the structure. So what he would do is he would create an artificial pressure to the right or left side, whichever way he was trying to kind of force him out on the back end. And then he'd have Levante David or Devin White or somebody sitting on that back end because he knew Patrick Mahomes was going to feel that immense pressure coming up his right side, spin around and try to bail out the left and try to make a play. And then boom, right there's the defender. And it was brilliant. It worked fantastically. And we've seen Patrick Mahomes continue to grow that mobility within the pocket, to really work within the pocket with work and structure. And that's what we're going to need for Caleb Williams, I think, to really succeed and achieve that high ceiling that he has. But at a bare minimum, he's going to be a very good NFL prospect as long as you surround him with something, as long as you have some good coaching to help him continue to develop. I think he's going to do his part because the personality stuff with Caleb Williams, it's nonsense. Like it's absolute nonsense. Where are the teammates that are saying this actually made a difference? Like everybody speaks so highly of him, his teammates, his coaches, everybody around him. Like yeah, some of that, like if this was the 1990s and you were trying to lead a locker room, yeah, maybe painting your fingernails and the crying in the stands would be tough to actually follow that guy, maybe. But the mindset of the league is changing. The personalities within the league are changing. They're getting younger and younger with this new generation. And that stuff has zero relevance as to whether or not he can play the quarterback position effectively and be a good leader. Because I do think he showed a lot of good leadership skills because, once again, where are all these teammates saying he was a bad leader if that stuff actually mattered? It doesn't matter. It hasn't mattered. Everything is positive around this guy. Sure, he might rub you the wrong way. Some of this stuff, will be used as excuses if the play is poor for sure. But if you win, none of this stuff matters. If you continue to execute as a high level, none of this stuff matters. As long as you play your role and the stuff and the failures that are happening within your organization are sort of out of your control because coaching's really terrible or player personnel is really rough. at the end of the day, it's a nothing burger. So I do like Caleb.